Welcome back, everybody. 8:17 here on CTV Morning Live. Welcome back to Annette Goerner.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you back.
So good to have you back.
I'm glad to be back.
So what's it like being, is it weird and bizarre?
It is. It's very surreal. It was a culture shock being in the Philippines. It was so different from what we're used to here. It was very eye-opening. And I was told by the folks at World Vision that the first few weeks I'm back here are going to be a little bit of an adjustment. You know, we're so lucky here with everything we have.
It really is striking what you see on these visits with World Vision. I was in El Salvador, you went to the Philippines, and immediately you were so struck by the conditions that people have to live in.
And you said to me, Kurt, right before I left on my last day, you said, you know, be prepared, there's going to be moments where you're going to have to kind of step back, take a deep breath, and let it kind of sink in, because it's emotional, it's tough to see. We don't know that kind of poverty, malnutrition, child labor here in Canada. It's very different. And I did, as you might have seen in some of my reports, I did have to take a step back a few times. It was difficult. And that's something as a reporter that I can usually contain, but it was very difficult to see children under those conditions.
We saw, you know, in the videos that came back, we saw some that we could hear and visibly see how shaken and how emotional you were, and yet there were some really inspiring stories that were coming out of that. Are you at least uplifted knowing the amount of work that's being done and how people can help?
Yeah, the stories, I've completed 6 stories. Well, I shot 6 stories. I have some work to do now, putting them together, and they start airing next month. In the first week of October. There is a mix. They're not all doom and gloom. Some of them are going to be a little hard to watch, will bring out some strong emotions, but there are some that also show the success of the work that World Vision is doing. We did a photography class where World Vision staffer David Segulis, who happens to be a photographer himself, brought a whole bunch of little point-shoot cameras and gave them to a group of 10 kids, and they got to learn how to take pictures. And it's something so simple, but oh my goodness, it was so much fun for them. Here's a shot of our crew. These are all World Vision staff people that I was working with. Some of them out of Toronto that I traveled with, others that work there in the Philippines were also acted as our translators. This is a family, the Funa family. We'll be showcasing them in one of our stories. Wonderful kids. There's where we were teaching photography. I was the subject for some pictures. We had a good time. The kids, you know.
Isn't it marvelous when you go into one of these schools?
Oh.
It's beautiful.
Laughter,
it is beautiful.
Yeah, and of course, they've never seen anyone with blonde hair and blue eyes. So I felt like a little bit of a circus animal. But it was fun because as soon as you wave and smile back, they just, you know, erupt in laughter, and they're so excited to see you. And I got to learn about all kinds of programs, and here they're teaching me about one where the women in the village learn how to save money and borrow and lend.
Right.
It's incredible.
So a lot of a hand up, not a hand out.
Well,
right?
that's the thing, and that's what people you find most striking about people you meet. They're not looking for a free ride here.
No.
To get started is what they need, and once they get started, they're like anybody else. They can run their own businesses, they can run their own farms, they can do this, they can do that. But it's the getting started part that's so hard for them because of the impoverished areas.
They don't have the money to get those programs started, and that's where World Vision comes in. They provide a little bit of funding to give them, for example, we went to a farm where a family was given seeds to plant.
Really? Yeah.
They take on that farm, and they are taught how to take care of that farm, and away they go. And then they're able to sell the produce and make a profit. And so they feed their community, they feed their own family, and it's a domino effect.
Yeah, let me ask you this. The one thing that struck me when I went on this World Vision trip a few years ago was that I had always seen the commercials and the ads on TV trying to get people to sponsor kids. And I thought, well, World Vision is about helping these kids. The impression you get when you actually see what they do is way beyond that, and you know, Is that what, did you suddenly go, wow, this is what World Vision actually does?
Yeah, the pictures and those, letters you get in the mails from World Vision all suddenly mean something totally different.
Yeah,
and you suddenly feel a real connection to the cause. You understand why they are doing this work and why they want people to sponsor, because it is very important work. And a lot of these families, it's so very little for us, but it's so very much for them. And without it, I can't even imagine where they would be.
Really quickly, I know we're out of time. It's unfortunate, but were you surprised at how little it takes to help another person?
Oh yeah, it's very little on our part. It's sort of customary and sort of a gesture of thank you to bring the families just some basic supplies when we go and interview them as a thank you for allowing them to, for us to bring our cameras and a big crew of people there. And it was so much to them. It was bread and rice and maybe something to wash their clothes, just some little basic everyday stuff that you and I will pick up on the way home from work. Yeah. But for them, that will sustain them for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it was incredible. I had some emotional moments with some of the mothers there, as handing them over and saying thank you for letting us be here today and talk to your children and see your homes.
You're going to share more stories starting next month.
Yes.
Can't wait to see them.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. It was a nice, friendly place to see walking in this morning.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be back on this wonderful new show.
Coming up on 8:24 now, a quick break here on CTV Morning. Today's the Day with Leanne is up next. We'll be right back.